For a while now, there has been one venue that I've come back to again and again. Whether it's working on filming projects or my own personal fishing, it's one of the classic modern day carp angling venues. This time round, it's the back end of summer. My buckets are loaded with what I think are some of the most effective baits going, and I'm going to show you everything you need to know to get the very best out of these timeless baits. From bait choice and the preparation stages, through to baiting accurately and angling with some naughty hook baits, this is how I fish with particles. Fish have done exactly what I thought they would do and get on the bait pretty quick. This is the second one now. I've just got one in the sling, was just about to do it, and the left-hand rod went, so happy days. Well, there's a lot of fish in here actually. It's one of the reasons I love coming. Don't really know what you can get. It could be a 15-pound stockfish, or it could be a 45-pound fully scaled. So I've got 3 different colour hook baits out: a white, a brown and a pink. I've had bites on the white and the pink, I think. That rhymes. So what I'm going to do is I'll reel the middle rod in and change it for a bright one as well. Oh, it's a common. Come on. Come on. That's a nice looking fish, that. Right, I'm happy with that, but the main thing to do now is when you're particle fishing is not to worry about the fish. As long as it's in deep enough water and it can sit there for a little while, is to get your spod rod out, put some more bait out and see if you can build a hit. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. The fish is fine. I leave the rod there, get my spod rod. For years I've fished water with not many fish in and trying to target big fish, but more and more these days I'm doing this style of fishing. I'm travelling to Oxford, I'm fishing St John's for this exact thing. It's a really exciting way to fish. Once you've got the fish on your spot, you're catching regularly, you're putting bait out. It's a really active way of fishing, and any moment you could get a bite, and that's what I find exciting about it. I really, really enjoy it. That's nice, it's on it. This fishing's a real active style of fishing. When you're not catching, you've got to be putting the odd spot out, and when you are catching, you've got to make sure you put the bait out. What you really don't want to do is lose momentum on the spot. So you can imagine there's probably 10, 15, 20, even 30 fish out there feeding. And if you run out of bait on the spot, then fish will move away and you'll lose hours, you'll lose days, you'll lose fish. So as soon as you get the fish in there, make sure you get some bait back out there and keep it going. Having said that, what you don't want to do is rush and just knock your spoms absolutely everywhere. So you just have to compose yourself. Put the right amount of bait in your spom every time, line yourself up, get the bait nice and accurate, get it out there quick, and get your rods back out with the right hook baits on. When a lake's got as many fish in as St John's, particle fishing is the perfect way to fish for them. You can get them competing, you can get lots of fish feeding in the same area for a long period of time, and that way you end up catching a lot of fish. Boilie fishing, you could do that here as well, but you don't get that real sort of strength of competitiveness when they're feeding, and that way you don't catch as many. So particle fishing is perfect for this place. Just talking about the importance of getting the rods back out and the bait back out after you catch one. I've done that and had a bite straight away. I've still got the fish in the net down there, so it just proves that point really. This is on the rod that I changed the hook bait from a brown one to a yellow one. So these are the little things that make a big difference in the long run. They turn a 3 fish trip into a possible 10 or 15 fish trip. I'm shaking, this is exciting. You feel like a bit of a tool at the beginning of the session having 2 nets ready, but this is what particle fishing can do. It's fast action. And when you get them going, you can have 2 or 3 bites at once, so you've got to be ready for it. At the beginning of a session, I'll put out 10 to 15 medium spoms. That's generally enough to start getting bites. And then once I start getting bites, I put 4 or 5 spoms out after I've caught a fish or 2. What you don't want to do is catch a fish, put 10 or 15 spoms out. That way, all you're doing is delaying the time in which it's going to take to get your next bite. So keeping the swim topped up is paramount, and not putting too much is obviously really important as well. they're on the spot. On busy day ticket lakes, the option of moving isn't always there. In this case, instead of walking laps in search of fish, I channel my work rate and energy into keeping the flow of bait and activity in my swim, making the most of what's in front of me and making sure that the fish hang around. What a cracking way to start. And it's actually an old friend of ours. It's a tatty-tail common from the underwater 7 and 8. I'm over the moon to catch him. He's 32 pound here, and what a cracking fish. I mentioned while I was playing it that I caught him on a bright hook bait. This one was on a pink one, and the one before was on a white one. So I will be changing all to them now. It's very important when you're fishing over pike to make sure your hook bait stands out over the top of everything else. What a beauty. When particle fishing, you've got lots of different items out there in your swim. To try and get quick bites, which is obviously the key to it, you want a hook bait on that they love. So 3 different hook baits on it the first time. As soon as you get a bite on that, change them all to that hook bait, and you end up getting bites much quicker that way than if I was to put a single grain of corn on or a single tiger. It will take a long time for me to get a bite, and the action wouldn't be as frantic. There's the third of a flurry of action this morning. The first one was 27 pound, the second was that lovely 32 pound common, and then you've got this one, 31 pound mirror. What a cracking way to start. And who said particle catches a smaller fish, eh? Rig wise, I'm doing something slightly different to people normally would over particle, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip this one back. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm using. The business end. Now, this might look like it's more suited to a boilie style approach, but I've been using it with that and other styles, and it's been working really well for me. So I'm using it here again today with the particle approach. Now, I'll break it down for 3 parts for you. First of all, I've got the leader. I've got about 4 or 5 foot of lead core to a heli safe at the bottom. That allows me to drop or keep the lead on if I want. I'm dropping it because I like to have direct contact with the fish. There's a little bit of weed in here as well, so it's nice just to be able to get them high in the water and land them. I've got the safety bead about 3 or 4 inches above the lead, and that just makes sure that this stiff boom can slide up and just sit on top of any rubbish on the bottom, and it's nice and presented out there for you. Onto the boom section. That's probably 7.5 inches long of 25 pound boom material. Now, it's stiff enough to make sure you do not get any tangles, and it always sits away from the lead as well, so it sits out there perfect for you. The main reason I'm using it here especially is because when you've got lots of particle in the swim, there's lots of fish feeding. Often with a soft hook link that I used to use quite a lot, the hook can flail up, get caught into something, and you're not fishing pretty quickly, but that's going to sit out working for you constantly. And as a little added extra with this setup, because you've got that little tiny quick change swivel on there, you never have to change that boom. You have to change that as much as you do the leader, so very, very rarely, and all you have to do is change the hook. The hook itself is a size 4 crank, little yellow kicker. I'm using the yellow ones over the green ones because I'm fishing over bits of maize, tigers and stuff like that. They're all crushed up, so that just looks like a bit of bait now instead of the bottom or a hook itself. I'm mounting the bait onto a mini rig swivel, and that's being stopped by a hook bead. And that hook bead I've got in line with the barb, I'd say, which just kicks it off at the perfect angle when it's being popped up off the bit of putty that I've pushed around the crimp there. So that's the rig. It looks complicated, but it's actually very simple, especially when you've already tied that boom. It's been working for me perfectly, so I'm going to show you how to tie it now. Take a length of 25 pound boom material and crimp a 10mm loop in the end. Then grab a size 11 quick change swivel and cut the ring off of the swivel. Crimp that swivel onto the end of the boom with a smaller loop of about 5 to 6mm. The boom section wants to be about 7.5 inches long. The next thing to do is to open up the swivel so the hook can be slid on. I then slide on a size 4 crank. You then need to pinch the quick change part shut again so the hook can't fall off. I then slide on a cut down large yellow kicker. After that, you slide on a mini rig swivel, followed by a hook bead that stops the swivel falling off of the hook. I then slide bait floss onto the swivel and then pull the bait onto the bait floss and slide the bait halfway onto the mini swivel. Then cut the bait floss and burn down with a lighter. When using the spinner rig, you end up sitting back on your bed chair a confident man, because every single time I cast out, I know that it's not tangling in the air. With that stiff boom on a helicopter setup, it's sitting free of any rubbish on the bottom as well. So I know it's sitting out there perfectly for me, so I don't sit down and worry throughout the time I'm then not catching that my rigs are failing me. They're out there, they're doing the job for you, and when the fish turn up, you catch them. You can get particle from most places, all good tackle shops do them. I really enjoy using all the hinder stuff. It's perfect for carp fishing, and they're selling the right stuff that carp like. Apart from that, you can go to your local farm shops. They have a massive array of particles in there, and often I just like to go and have a look, see what they've got and try some new things. Carp will like anything, all of the beans, the pulses, the nuts, the seeds, they love it all. So go into your local farm shop, have a mix about and go and enjoy yourself. I think for most of the part, people worry that they're not preparing their particle right because it's not ready done for them when they buy it, but really it's extremely easy. All I do is I make sure that I soak every particle for at least 24 hours before I boil it, and then boil it for at least 40 minutes. The biggest worry is that the particle hasn't soaked all of the way through, so it's a little bit dry in the middle. You can bite the tiger nuts, bite the peanuts, you can tell whether they're wet all the way through or not. And the hemp, I just make sure that it splits and you get their little tiny white bits come out of the hemp, and that's when you know it's ready. To be sure as well, I'll often boil them, so I soak them for 24, boil them, and then leave them for another 24 hours in the bucket of hot water itself. So when you go fishing, it's 100% safe to use. A few of the different particles I prepare in a different way. Tigers especially, I like them because they're sweet, the carp like them because they're sweet, I'm sure, so I'll add even more sweetness to them. I add some brown sugar, and that makes them go nice and sort of globularly, if you like, whilst they're soaking and once they're boiled after. The hemp, do not put anything with the hemp, especially salt, before you boil it, because it stops it from splitting. So the hemp I just cook completely on its own until it splits, and then you can add anything after that you want, maybe some chilli or something like that. Carp really like that as well. The maize, I'll add lots and lots of salt with. Carp love salt after they spawn, so my maize is very, very salty. And that way I have different buckets with different things in. When I add them together and cast them out, there's lots of different scents and smells in the water at the same time. With the evening setting in and a morning feeding spell potentially on the cards again, getting all the rods bang on before dark was a must, allowing me to relax for the rest of the night. Good morning, and it is as well. This is the second one this morning. It seems like the fish are turning up at a similar time, and as soon as they get on the bait, they're going through it, so they're obviously enjoying it. It seems like a good time to talk about what I've actually put out. On this occasion, I've actually got quite a good mix of particle out there. I've got some peanut, I've got some crushed peanut, I've got some hemp, tigers, quite a lot of maize. And I think a lot of people would measure it out and say, you know, 2 parts this, 1 part this, 3 parts this, but to be honest, I just boil it all up. I have a bucket of each, and then when I get here, I just mix it all up. Just so there's a lot of everything out there. There's something for every fish. If they like this, they like that. When we did the underwater, there was a lot of fish that as soon as we put the sweet corn in, they come in and fed, so it's quite good to have a little mix out there. But having said that, on a few occasions, I have just come down with clean maize, or with clean hemp, or clean anything else, and that works as well. So if you've boiled it right, you've prepared it right, and it's the right time of year, the fish just seem to go through it. So I'm not going to say that you have to have a certain mix to fish it. Particle's particle, and they love it. After location, bait is the most important thing to me. As a rule of thumb nowadays, I'll fish a small amount of boilie and a pop-up in the spring. Then as soon as the fish spawn, I use particle all the way through to the end of September, October. I think it's a fantastic way of fishing, and they just love it through the summer. I'm not quite sure what it is, but they certainly go through it more than they do anything else. So July, August, September are my particle months, and then I'll switch back onto boilie after that. But I really wouldn't go anywhere without particle in the summer. I think the one in the sling that I caught an hour ago is probably another 30 pounder, so it's going well, even though the lake is fishing relatively slow compared to normal, if I'm completely honest. But, come on fish, get in it. Eee. Another one to the particle and a yellow pop-up this time. Lovely. And just like clockwork, the third rod ripped off, just like the morning before. This is the time you obviously know everything you're doing is right. And one of them things is the rigs. They've been out there for quite a long time now, and if the fish have been out there feeding throughout the night or throughout the morning, there's quite a possibility that they would have been snared up if I was fishing soft hook links. But like I said, these sit out there and work for you until they go. So they've turned up, they're all sitting out there sweet still, and you have a bite on each rod. Number 6, what a result. Bait. The most important thing is to put bait out there. They're obviously out there feeding, get some more grub in the swim, sort your rods out, get the rods back out quick. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when coming to water like this and spomming accurately is that they're fishing out of their depth. They're fishing too far, and that way they end up fishing badly. So if I was someone that come to this lake and could only fish 60 yards but wanted to fish 90, fish 50, so it's very, very easy for you. You fish accurately and you fish better and you end up catching more. If you go too far, your spots are going everywhere, there's bait everywhere in your swim. It's just not conducive to a good session. This is the first of 3 this morning. I actually had this bite just as it was getting light, so I didn't bother putting that rod back out because I thought it might have taken me a few chances to get it right in the dark. So I left the rod out, hoping to get another bite on the other rod, and that's exactly what happened. This one's 32 pounds. I'm gonna get him back and show the other ones. It's so important to get your rod back out first time, because the least disturbance you make, the bigger chance you have of getting a quicker bite. And if you're doing that all the way through your session, it makes for a smoother ride throughout the whole thing. So what I always make sure I do is always cast out at the right time. And even if that means waiting for a little while for the wind to calm down, sometimes I'll do that. If there's a massive crosswind, it does make it difficult. So instead of just casting and casting and casting, just wait 10 minutes, maybe put some bait out, and then recast your rod when it's right. Other things I do as well is just, I fish quite a big lead, so when the lead hits the cliff or my line's tight and it's all very accurate, I don't fish bags or foam anymore when I'm doing this style of fishing. If I do mess up the cast, I can get momentum going and get the rod straight back out there. Woo! And in the first instance, I always make sure that I mark all of my lines, I use a distance stick so I know I'm accurate, and that way it's very, very quick to get your rod back out. Distance sticks are a revelation really. I can't believe we used to get away without them. I use them pretty much every time I'm fishing, especially when you're fishing in this style. In this instance, I'm fishing 22.5 wraps, which is 22.5 rod lengths, which equates to 90 yards exactly. I'll wrap them around the sticks as many times as you are for the spot, and then I'll wrap them exactly the same for the spot. Then when I cast out, I have my tips all in exactly the same position, and because I'm that distance out and it's not very deep, it's only 10 foot deep, I'm not expecting much swing back. So I have all of the rods clipped up at exactly the same range, and I know that that is super, super accurate. This is the second one of the 3, and would I have got the bite so quickly if I'd put that first rod back out? Not so sure that I would, but what I was going to do was put some more bait out after this one, but I didn't get the chance because the third rod went. So this one's 18 pound, it'll do for now, but I'll get the other one out and show you. This is the third one of another flurry of fish. Exactly the same thing happened yesterday morning as it did today, so I'm hoping that tomorrow morning I'll get all the rods out all nice and perfect, and the same thing could happen again. Another thing that's of paramount importance when accurately fishing is your kit. Your kit needs to make it easy work for you. If you're struggling to get to the spot, it obviously makes it hard and you end up fishing extremely badly. So in this instance, I've got the Bezier AGS rods. They're the very best on the market. They're the best rod that I would do, and they're the best rod that I've ever used. They've got carbon rings, so the recovery is very, very quick, and the blank speaks for itself. Normally, I wouldn't say that the rods make that much difference when you're fishing 50, 60, 70 yards. But when you're fishing 90 to 100 yards and you want to get them all in a 5-foot area, 2 foot apart, the rods make a massive difference. So you've got to have the very best kit. I have the same for the reels. They're the very best on the market. They're the Bezier custom QDXs. They're very light and they match the setup perfectly. And another thing is your line. You don't want to be fishing too thick line. If you're fishing 15, 20 pound line and you're fishing at your maximum range, again, it makes it very difficult for you. So in this instance, using 12 pound line, it gets out there very easily and it makes it easy work. In this session, I'm getting bites in threes, and I think why that is because the fish are just turning up in numbers. Because I'm fishing very accurately and very condensed, I'm getting a bite on each rod. I think if I wasn't fishing so accurately, I'd get 1 bite and that would be it, or maybe 2. And then the fish would move off, and then when they come back, I might get another 1. But I'm making the most of the time that they're feeding. I'm getting bites on all rods when the fish turn up, then they'll leave, and then hopefully when they come back, the same will happen again. But it's just making the most of that time. Well, St John's was very kind to me again. 3 30s out of 6 fish. No, they didn't turn up on me again this morning, but hey ho, that's fishing sometimes. We had a big night wind last night, and I think the fish have pulled down into the corner a little bit, but it's been a brilliant session. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm already looking forward to my next trip.